Now, good evening, everybody. It's Reckoning Brothers, live from RFK Stadium in the nation's capital. I'm Mark.
I'm Scott. You are not live from RFK Stadium. You are not in the nation's capital, but you are Mark.
And I'm Josh.
Yeah.
Scott is the sexy Jew.
That's not a bad nickname / like internet handle. And I might actually start to use that because I'm 100% sexy and 25% Jewish.
Yeah, I was
So I
going to
don't
ask
know
the
if
percentage there.
I did not hear what you said.
I
You
was going
sounded
to
very
ask the
mumbly.
percentage.
25%. Yeah,
Can you
I
hear
am. I can now hear. Yes, 25% Jewish.
In
Yes.
Jewish numbers, that's 100%.
That's also the max amount I will pay for anything. Just 25% of the cost. That's where I max
What
out.
about tipping, Scott?
Oh, I'm a big fan of tipping. I hate the current. I could do a whole fucking thing on tipping culture and all the bullshit and how restaurants are forcing you into it and how tips, if you do them electronically, don't always go to the employees. Hate to open up that can of worms. But that being said, aside from that, tipping like a server or an employee who's going to get it, yes, absolutely. I believe in tipping. I believe in tipping
He
well.
tips me well.
Do you
Just a tip.
typically tip cash, or do you go with
No, because
card?
I don't carry cash typically, not much at
Okay.
all.
He
And
lives in Los Angeles, Josh, so of course he doesn't carry any cash.
Well,
it's
I
just going
don't
to get.
really either, but when I tip, usually it's cash because I know the server's going to get that cash.
Yeah, you're
And
more
there's
more
no
courteous
trace
than
of
courteous
that.
than I. That's a solid point. Yeah, agreed.
I was going to dunk on Josh about going out and eating, but I'm not going to.
You're a kind gentleman, Mark. If we remember right,
Me
and
and
I
you're going
remember
to
right,
fight later.
Huh?
We're going to fight later.
I look forward to watching that pay-per-view. Mark, this is your week. You are in full 100% control. You can talk all the trash you want. You can bring up whatever you want. You can stomp on Josh's balls
This
if
is
you
really
desire.
scary.
So, what's on your mind?
Well, no, I think the topic of the week is the Department of Government Efficiency. And I'm gonna start saying Department of Government Efficiency instead of Doge because I think it's important. I asked 5 people at work. I asked 5 people at the office what they thought of Doge, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you mean the Elon Musk thing?" And blah blah blah. And I said, "So what does Doge stand for?" And not a single one of them knew what it stood for.
Did they think
Really?
it was a coin?
And I'm talking about really smart people. I'm talking about people that are in finance.
You should know what Doge stands
I'm
for.
talking about people that are in global finance.
That's scary.
That
Scary.
is scary that they don't know what that is.
They didn't know what the acronym was.
So you don't want to
And
not.
I think it's really. I'm sorry, Scott. I didn't mean to
Oh, go
interrupt.
ahead, please.
No, and I think it's really important that people know what it is the Department of Government Efficiency is doing, and they're listing it on their website. They're listing it on their X page. Everybody's the left is freaking out about it. Unelected billionaires dismantling the United States government, which of course is the same hyperbolic name calling shit that you hear from the left on everything.
I was going to say every single subject. But I was going to ask you about do you think calling it Doge just memifies it too much and makes people think of it less seriously? Is that why you want to call it Department of Government Agency
I
or
mean,
Efficiency or just to educate?
conversationally with people that know what I'm talking about, I'm gonna say Doge, but I think it's I think it's important that people know what it stands for and what it's doing, considering a lot of people believe that a billionaire has got your social security number and is going to raid the treasury, which is that's insanity. That's mental illness, right? Elon Musk is, and we've talked about it before. He's not an unelected billionaire. He's appointed by the president of the United States.
You call it mental illness. I would nitpick a little bit and say, of course, there are some people that are in that mental illness category. I think people are just misinformed. They're on the internet too much. They don't touch grass. All those cliches, and they really think this stuff, but they're not putting forth the effort to use critical thinking, think from first principles, all that boring shit, and
Right.
figure out what things actually are.
And I had so many examples of that. One that comes that's in the forefront of my mind is people who are saying, in addition to what I just mentioned, unelected billionaire, etc. Um, they're saying that that the GOP has given this guy so much power, and he's cutting critical funding, but he takes federal funding from the government. Well, and what they've done is they're conflating, and they get that from news stories from ABC affiliates,
Mm.
right? So a digital content producer for the ABC affiliate in Austin wrote a story about Elon Musk, and the gist of the story was Elon Musk takes federal funding, but he's cutting government spending and critical programs. And isn't that hypocrisy? And it wasn't an op-ed piece; it was a news story, and
Mm.
I of course fact checked it, right? And the $18 billion in federal money. Those are contracts. Elon Musk has saved the Department of Defense has saved billions of dollars by using Elon Musk's businesses for the lunar landing thing, for
All of the defense satellite launches, all that kind of stuff.
all of that stuff, right? Untold billions, right? He does it way cheaper than NASA. He does it way cheaper than any other bidder, and there are few other there in a lot of cases aren't there isn't anybody that can do what he does. They can
He's
do
also
what
responsible for Americans taking Americans to space again. Remember, we had to rely on the Russians for what,
Mm.
2 decades? Talk about an embarrassment fucking the ass. Every day I was alive when I knew Americans had to be taken to space by Russians, I felt like I was being fucked in my mouth
it made me
every
sick.
single day.
It
I
made me sick.
tasted it every single fucking morning until Elon Musk and SpaceX finally flew Americans up into space.
There's another story recently was Rachel Maddow was breaking news, and it was the government was spending $400 million on armored Teslas for the military, and it was
Yeah,
contradictory.
and then
And
somehow that was because Donald Trump and his team got a
exactly,
contract for Elon Musk.
but Biden signed it.
It was a contract from last year,
Yeah,
long before Trump took office, long before Cheeto took office.
Why are people losing faith in traditional media? There's no reason. They
Why don't
tell the truth. It's the news. The news wouldn't lie to
the
you.
fact
You guys are
checkers lie?
crazy.
The fact checkers lie,
Of course. Yeah.
right?
Well, people that are beholden. So, Mark, one thing that you say that I love, I hate ideologues. And I couldn't agree with you more. I hate ideologues. Ideologues put narrative before truth. When someone puts narrative before truth, they fucking lie for their greater good. This is a story as old as humankind itself. Why don't we realize this? Why don't we do this boring think from first principles thing that we need to do more often? Is it spiritual fulfillment? This is what I keep asking myself. What do you think, Mark?
I couldn't agree more. I hate ideologues. And I love critical thinking, and I love fact checking stuff, and I like doing my due diligence on finding out what exactly is going on with. Doge is saving the taxpayers' money. Now, one can debate whether or not we should spend, $35,000 on a transgender opera in some South American country, and whether or not that advances America, since the mission of AID is to advance American interests and advance American foreign policy, right? So you can debate those, but there's no question that government's been wasting hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars for years. You can now find clips because the internet lasts forever. There's all kinds of clips of Joe Biden and Barack Obama and other presidents talking about how we're going to go through the federal budget and we're going to knock out waste and fraud.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not going to bother playing them. I can pull them up on my phone. Anybody who's watching this can go on can go on any platform and find those videos of President Obama talking about how government wastes a lot of money. We need to go line by line and find out where it's being wasted and whether or not these programs that we're spending millions and billions of dollars on advance American interests. That's what Doge is doing. And what a lot of people don't know, because they're not as old as I am, because I'm older than fucking dirt,
You're old as
is
fuck.
this nonsense has been going on in Washington for wasting money for years. The president I worked for appointed the Grace Commission, J. Peter Grace, who was a businessman. They established the President's Private Sector Survey on Cost Control in 1982. That's 43 years ago.
Mm.
They asked private businessmen.
Wait, sorry.
Yeah.
Technical foul. What year and month? Because I was born in 81 and I'm 43.
June 30th, 1982.
Josh, I was born in 82 and I'm 43. When were you born, you said?
81.
Okay, got it. We're good. Sorry. I took an edible before we recorded, so that's on me. The first thing when you read the package on the edible, it says may not be able to do basic math is like a warning right there. So my bad. I apologize. And there he goes again. There he goes again. He's deep throating the liquor again.
Trademark. That's your trademark, Mark.
That will help with your back problems, at least temporarily.
It will.
That's definitely true. But
I just want the audience to know that this is a really, really good. If you like Irish whiskey, this is really fucking good.
fucking love Irish whiskey. And Mark, if you haven't had it, next time we are face to face, I will buy you a bottle of Redbreast Irish whiskey, my personal favorite brand. If you see it out and about.
Wait. We can only do one sponsor on this thing.
I've looked for Red.
It's berries.
You've mentioned that before, Scott, and I haven't found Redbreast here at my undisclosed location at RFK Stadium in the nation's capital.
You got to look harder then. But no. That's
Scott, have you seen any of the fire damage lately?
Yes.
That's a good question. I've been meaning to ask that one.
QCH1, what's it look like?
Yes, I have. I obtained a pass and I went into Pacific Palisades. I've been there twice. It is an odd experience. Driving through downtown is interesting. There's no electricity because, of course, there can't be down power lines. There's no water. But downtown is like it's like a little makeshift military base of civilians kind of feel to it, because you got people walking around, a bunch of people. You know, you got cars with passes going through, like down through Sunset, the main drag, and you've got just like tents set up, and you've got different like construction organizations, aid organizations. You go into the neighborhoods, and you'll have like a block where it looks normal. Houses just aren't touched. There's people out there just they're mowing their lawns or throwing trash away. And then you look one block over and it's a war zone. Devastation. Devastated house, debris and just a chimney next to another devastated house, debris and just a chimney. It's such a bizarre feeling. I've been there so many times, hundreds, thousands of times, where it was just normal and now it's not. And it does, at the risk of sounding like a pussy, it does give you an emotional experience where you're like, oh, damn, man, I should take everything that I have and be far more appreciative than I have been, because these poor sons of bitches. I mean, regular ass Americans. This isn't someplace else. This is Joe Sixpack. Their fucking house is now gone.
The second place I lived. Pacific Palisades is the second place I lived in California.
It's a beautiful place.
It was.
It will be again, but due to I don't know, Mark, how about you feel about governments? But I think due to the governments, it's going to take longer than it should.
They want it to be a 15-minute city now.
Fuck all that shit. Fuck all that shit. They can try.
What's a 15-minute city?
The walkable cities. Josh doesn't know about that. And that's a new trend. It's a fairly new trend where leftists want every city to be a walkable city, right? And so what they'll do is they'll take their camera crew or their cell phone or their whatever to like a nice little cute little section of Greenwich Village or a nice little town in Europe, and they'll say this is a really good example of a walkable city, and it'll show nice architecture and nice little shops and beautiful little cafes and very happy people walking around in their little walkable 15-minute city where everything is within 15 minutes of where you live. My problem with it is every place they go and record a studio apartment is $2,250 a month, right? So they're trying to sell everybody.
It's just planned community bullshit. It
It's
never
planned
worked.
community stuff, and these are the same people that that got very up. These are the people that the leftists and progressives that are pushing the 15-minute city, the walkable city idea, and trains going everywhere. We need a train. We need a train system. So that people don't have to. They're anti-car, anti-gas-powered vehicles. They want everybody in these sweet little communities. The problem with that's what they have in China, 15-minute walkable cities. And you know what else happens in highly densely populated areas when pandemics break out? Lots of death, right? These the people pushing the 15-minute cities and these walkable communities and the trains are the same people that were telling us that you had to lock everything down, and that overpopulated sections were.
It's more authoritative control bullshit. And also, if you want to look at planned communities and how they fail, just look up the history of Brasilia in Brazil, and then the city in Myanmar. That's a complete joke too. I can't remember the name of
And
that city.
Germania.
What is it?
And Hitler's Germania.
You gave me another thing I need to look up. Fantastic. I look forward to learning more about that.
Albert Speer's Germania.
Germania. Okay. I will check into Germania.
Planned
cities don't work. It doesn't work with America. What are you going to eminent domain the fuck out of everybody? In China, you can just be like, fuck you. Your life is not important because we're Chinese and we don't care about an individual's life. Fuck you. America, we're just, I'm sorry, better than that. The individual should and always hopefully will be the unit of measurement.
Well, and that's why, and this is a big country, and we're getting off base with the government spending thing and DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, and that's all right because we can do stream of consciousness on this broadcast. But yeah, exactly, Scott. It's all about it's all about control, and it's all about collectivism.
Yes.
That's what it's about. And so,
which always makes things better when you have a collectivist mindset, right? And communism scales up from the household perfectly well and does not result in tragedies and loss of life.
And everybody will be happy in their little utopian 15-minute walkable city.
Exactly. It's going to be such a good time.
Nobody's going to have a car, can't drive out to the country, right?
Josh, we're being sarcastic. I don't know if you picked up on any of this. I just want to make sure you understand. And his mic is out.
You fucking idiot.
I'm going to have to do some editing now.
No, leave it in.
I should leave just to shame Josh on his lack of technical preparedness. Like, no, yeah. Just leave. All right, fine. Now we'll leave this all in. Is there anything you want to say about? Okay, there he's back. Son of a bitch. We're gonna start shit talking you left and right.
Yeah, we did. We shit talk you, Josh.
We did. What did
you do?
Yeah, you are on.
Okay, so let's move on because I know at some point Mark wanted to talk about immigration. We're running out of time.
No, I didn't want to talk about immigration. I've never wanted to talk about.
You are being CNN fake news, Josh. I'm going to have to side with Mark here. You know how that pains me. But he's right. He wanted to talk about a specific story in which immigration is a part of it. Just a part.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that as we close out.
Because when I brought it up, it wasn't about trans at all.
It's not about that either.
It was about immigration.
It's a specific story that has these elements, which is what makes it interesting.
It was about immigration. It wasn't about trans at all.
It's actually not about,
even though the headlines, and Scott, if you wouldn't mind, just a little screenshot right here of the headline.
I will put the headline
Appreciate
up
that.
there.
Okay.
The point is, you got me defending Mark. How dare you? Shame on you, sir. The point is, and Mark said he wants to bring up a specific part of this story.
Josh,
and it's not the immigration part. I'll put it up for you.
Watch my lips, Josh. Go fuck yourself.
Oh,
knock, knock.
Go fuck yourself.
There you go.
Tell me about this.
The government wastes money. It wastes a lot of money. It wastes hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars. That's true. So to get back, the Grace Commission, 1981, when Josh was born.
There you are.
1982.
How old were you then?
How old am I?
How old were you in 1981?
How old was I in 1981? I was 20, if we're talking about before December.
Let's just say April.
In April of 1981, I was 20 years old.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
He's fucking old, dog.
161 top executives assisted
by...
I
thought he was about to say his year. 161 years old. Go ahead.
161 top executives assisted by 2,000 volunteers from the private sector contributed more than $75 million of their own time and resources to examine all major federal programs and agencies. In January 1984, the Grace Commission's work culminated in a 47-volume report containing 2,478 recommendations to save the taxpayers $424 billion. That was 40 years ago. 40 years ago. Fast forward to today, right? And let's just go to the Department of Government Efficiency's Twitter page, and see what they found. Give me a minute.
I just want to say the Grace Commission I have heard about, because libertarians, there's two things that they love to talk about: the Grace Commission and the Jones Act. It's like you listen to a libertarian podcast, they're not going to go a whole episode without mentioning the Grace Commission or the Jones Act. But it's interesting stuff.
Was the Jones Act about Jim Jones and drinking all the Kool-Aid? People
the Jones Act is about shipping and where international shipping boats can come into unload their goods, and they can only do it in certain harbors. So like if you have to go to if you want to go to a certain place and unload your goods, you have to go to like Los Angeles or San Francisco first or something like that. I don't know all the details.
February 15th. U.S. taxpayer dollars were going to be spent on the following items, all of which have been canceled. $10 million for Mozambique voluntary medical male circumcisions.
Fantastic.
Why would we ever be paying for that?
I'm reliably informed.
Because government workers can't get fired, so you get ridiculous people doing ridiculous things.
I'm reliably informed by the trans activist community that circumcision is genital mutilation, and it's the same thing as hacking your breasts off or getting a penile.
Where did you say this was? Mozambique?
Yeah. It's a country.
It's not a... Okay, move on.
$9.7 million for UC Berkeley to develop, quote, a cohort of Cambodian youth with enterprise-driven skills.
It's better than the other one.
$2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia. $32 million to the Prague Civil Society Center. $14.4 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $400.5 billion. $468 million to the Consortium for Elections and Political Process Strengthening, including $22 million for inclusive and participatory political processes in Moldova.
That sounds like funding a coup. Does that not just sound like fancy language for funding a coup?
Yeah, and $21 million
Am I
for
tripping?
$21 million for
Yeah.
voter turnout in India.
Hmm.
$29 million to strengthen the political landscape in Bangladesh.
Also coup.
$20 million for fiscal federalism in Nepal. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million.
Voter confidence. Voter confidence.
$14 million.
They're making them feel good about themselves and how they vote. Is that what that was?
$14 million for, quote, social cohesion in Mali. $2.5 million for inclusive democracies in South Africa.
So my list I thought was bad, but this is way worse.
Yeah, this is a way worse list.
$47 million to improve learning outcomes in Asia. $2 million to develop, quote, $2 million to develop sustainable recycling models and to increase socioeconomic cohesion among marginalized communities in Kosovo, Roma, Ashkali, and Egypt. Now, you can listen to Elizabeth Warren and Maxine Waters and every other screaming left-wing member of Congress, Democratic member of Congress, talking about how this is dismantling the government of the United States. And then you can go, this is an 80-20 issue, and they always pick the 20. They always pick the 20.
Yeah.
So beyond that, and Mark, I want to hear your opinion on this. Is they just entered the IRS. They're talking about NASA as their next target. They just blocked off the Department of Education. What's going to happen?
Members of Congress are going to keep the squad, Alanya Presley,
AOC.
and AOC, and Rashida Tlaib and Maxine Waters, and all of their friends are going to keep going to government buildings with their little protest, talking about Elon Musk is a Nazi, he's a billionaire, he's bad, he wants to dismantle the government. They're going to hands off our government, right? They're going to sing their little songs. Which the one that went viral this past week was, "Whose side are you on?"
Oh yes, I love that one. That's a banger. I heard that one.
It was horrible singing.
Yeah, of course it was. They're all there, but
whose side are you on?
I mean, they got so much better. Though, remember the "all cops are bastards." All cops are bastards. So they've improved their game. I'm sorry, credit where credit's due. The music is at least 3 times better than it was in 2020. Sorry, Mark. Please proceed.
No, so it's just it's mad. It's absolute madness.
I can tell you're angry.
What you're seeing from the left, right? They mischaracterize everything. They frame everything dishonestly, right? The story that I mentioned.
That's why towards the beginning of this, I asked you what it is, people that believe this. I thought you went too far by, saying that there's just that people might be suffering from mental illness. I don't think the average person is. They're just believing this because they think it's truth. They think the news is truth. They think CNN's truth. These people, Democrats, are telling the truth. But
they're listening to mentally ill people. Maxine Waters is mentally ill. She's a lunatic.
How does one convince? How would I convince somebody that watches someone in my family, right? They just watch CNN and it's the truth, right? They're Democrats. How do I convince them to listen to Mark and what Mark is saying and be like, hey, look, listen to this guy?
That's a good question. If they have an open mind and they're not in politics, then you can obviously show them what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing on the website, on the Twitter page, etc. If they are so far removed from reality that they're going to believe everything that MSNBC or Rachel Maddow or Caitlin Collins tells them on CNN, there's very little hope for people like that. I'm sorry, there just isn't.
Yeah.
Caitlin Collins, and by the way, since I mentioned Caitlin Collins, So you know who Luigi is, and you know Luigi Mangione, the guy that killed the United. So this is a really important story, and I screenshot her now deleted tweet. She so Mangione got $400,000 in donated funds from progressives who sent him money for his defense. Um, which is just gobsmacking to me because Luigi Mangione is the son and grandson of rich people. He doesn't need money for his defense. His family is wealthy, right? So you have progressives putting up money for the son of the son of the 1%. It's like the college. No, it's
Is
like
it
the.
another virtue signal? Is it just a simple another virtue signal for
I
them?
mean, they worship the guy because because he killed because he killed the bad healthcare executive, etc. But the colossal hypocrisy is just mind boggling because once again Luigi Mangione stood to inherit $30 million. That's the top 1%. Those are the top 1% of the people that progressives hate the most. The ones billionaires shouldn't exist, right? They're the ones they're stealing your money. They're stealing from the working class, right? All the taglines that they use, right? Without any evidence of any, there's no evidence that millionaires or billionaires are stealing money from the working class, right? And they're not hoarding their wealth. Millionaires and billionaires don't keep their money under a mattress. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Their money is in pension funds, the stock market. It's in banks that loan it out to families for cars and homes and appliances. Their money is everywhere. Their money is part of the economy. Not hoarding their money in a vault and sitting on top of it, right? Elon Musk has $400 billion, and people say that's bad. Billionaires shouldn't exist. The whole envy, the whole class warfare thing. What they don't understand is basic economics, right? Like Elon, people that have that kind of money have it in all kinds of different places, right? They have it in investment funds that help small businesses. They have it in credit unions. They have it in union pension funds that help retirees. It's all
But
over the place.
Mark, it's easier to believe that billionaires are the bad guys and they get their money through exploitation of the working class. To actually learn about things and how economics works takes work. Wouldn't it just be easier for me to just believe stuff that a college professor told me when I was 19 years old and carry
Yeah.
that with me for the rest of my life without second guessing it?
There's a professor named Anthony Zenkis at Columbia, who I got into a row with on Twitter, and he is always talking about billionaires shouldn't exist, and he won't reply to this, and I don't blame him. Um, and I'm not gonna. I didn't. I'm not gonna. I thought about getting into an economics debate with him, and maybe I'll have him. Maybe I'll invite him on this broadcast sometime to debate him on economics. If that's what he wants to do, because he's talking about billionaires hoarding wealth. And Elon Musk is bad because he's a billionaire. The top 1% pay half of all income tax. So my first reply to him was, "Good luck paying for half of all the government you want." Right? Because they pay for half of all government. So billionaires shouldn't exist. What are you going to replace that with? Right? But he thinks government creates wealth. Government doesn't create any wealth. Government only has what it takes from you and me and Josh and everybody who's listening and everybody who works and pays taxes. Government doesn't have any money. It only has what it takes from us in a democratic capitalist system. Democratic capitalists pay taxes, and a democratic capitalist system distributes that money for safety net programs in a system called federalism. That's what we've got. People are brainwashed into thinking that social programs or fire departments are socialism. No, they're not. They never have been. Right? That's a misnomer. And Professor Zenkis, who doesn't think billionaires shouldn't exist, I reminded him he is teaching at a private university with a 15 billion. He works for a billionaire. Columbia University has a $15 billion endowment, and his paycheck is signed by the 1% because they're the only ones that can afford to send their kids to Columbia at 90 grand a year. Fuck you, Professor Zankus.
I was
Right?
going to ask you if this guy was a friend of yours, but I guess not.
Apparently
I
not.
mean, no. Look, if you want to do that, if you want to preach that, if that's what you want to proselytize people about, that billionaires are bad and hoarded wealth is bad, then be a professor at a public university that doesn't have a $15 billion endowment and doesn't cost 90 grand a year to go to. Because I'm sorry, you're fucking disqualified. If you're teaching at Columbia and you're ranting about the top 1% and that millionaires and billionaires should exist when you wouldn't have a fucking paycheck without them, go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself. You have zero self awareness and you're a fucking idiot. And you're a fucking hypocrite. Fuck you.
Well said, man. Well said.
On
Joshua.
that, maybe we should close it out and we'll talk more about the Department of Government Efficiency next time. Because I've got some stuff to
You
say.
forgot about the fucking rules. Next time I get to decide what we talk about.
Ooh,
And I'll tell you what.
snap.
I'll tell you what. Maybe at the end we can talk more about Doge because it's interesting and we do need to do that. But I enjoyed this, Mark. I enjoyed listening to what you had to say. I did.
Scott, I love you.
I love you too. And
And
it's
with that, we're
not
wrapping
gay.
it up.
Josh can't say it. Say it, Josh. Say it.
No, I'm good. Wrapping up. Thanks, everybody.